St. Lucia, this is Open Mic, and we're now back to the fourth and final segment of our program. When I left off, I indicated to St. Lucia what I saw in the Star newspaper today, an article, a heading which said, "The Battle of the Titans," which is between Claudius Francis and Rick Wade. Now, as St. Lucia would know, these gentlemen were very close friends. But apparently, what has sparked the difference is the fact that Claudius Francis is firmly of the opinion that Guy Mears, as chairman of the United Workers' Party, is at fault because it was under his watch that Restore Confidence took place, and as a result of that, the problems arose and impacts was created. But Rick Wayne is of the view, or the opinion, that impacts may have been created by Dr. Anthony himself, by the statement which he made that he saw with his own eyes a hit list. And he went on to explain how that hit list came about in one of his last shows. But that having been said, I've talked to several people in St. Lucia concerning a so-called hit list. And they said, Mr. Shastri, if you go to any police station, whether it's in the UK or the US, you see persons of interest. You see hundreds of pictures of people, persons of interest. And I don't know anything about the police force and what happened, but it would appear that there were persons of interest placed at the Ansley police station when we had all the muggings going on. But, you know, this whole impact situation has really created a hornet's nest. And as St. Lucians very well know, the European Union, UK, and the French were down here, and they want the Prime Minister to go through a process. And I don't know what's going to happen, but evidently this is where Rick and Claudia seem to have had a clash. Did you see the show at all?
No, I didn't see the show.
Well, anyway, it was quite heated.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd never seen Claudia so heated.
But if you remember, they had a clash which, to an extent, which stopped them communicating with one another before.
Yes.
And that was when the 4 people or 3 people were expelled. Well, not expelled, but the senators.
Oh yes, the senators.
And what was said then, at the time, Rick had that show straight up,
Yeah.
and I was co-hosting that with him.
Okay.
And it was quite a furore that went on.
Yeah, but
also.
I think in the passage of time, both Claudius and Rick,
Well, yes.
they respected each
Yes,
other.
but of course
and
they do.
kept at arm's
But they were
length.
very good friends at
Yeah.
one time.
But
you know.
anyway, I guess,
Yeah.
I mean, Claudius is, we know that he has to talk about his side, and then Rick will talk about his side, but that will go on.
Yeah.
Let us move on to another subject. The other subject we want to discuss today is the difficulty the government seems to be experiencing in all their buildings. As you know, a couple of months ago, there was a serious problem at the comprehensive school where they had to send the students home for a week or
Yes.
two. Now, I've just learned from you about the Sir Arthur Lewis College. I was not aware of that.
Yep.
I understand that the situation at the Treasury is not very good. As a result, and the situation at the Customs is not very good. And now I understand that although the Customs had to move into the new Shariki building, the Treasury has taken precedence because theirs is so bad that they're going to go. So they have to try to find some place for the people at the Customs.
Yeah.
But you were saying to me about the Sir Arthur Lewis. What was going on?
Well, what had happened, for example, I saw my daughter go to school, I think it was Tuesday, and then I saw her come back home, and I'm saying, what is she doing here?
Yeah.
And it says, well, the school is closed, you know, until, because they're trying to get rid of those molds, you know. Yeah. And consequently, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, she's still at home. So obviously they're taking that long because the situation is acute, very serious. And you have to think of, you're not talking about 1 or 2 students. You're talking about quite a few students up there. And what I'm saying is, the way I'm looking at it, is why did it, because apparently the molds are very bad. But these are buildings that are years old.
Yeah.
You know, to me, they're almost ancient.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think that the money should be provided. So these, the maintenance of these buildings should be, you know,
addressed.
an ongoing thing, and not just when we see molds at that sort of stage.
Yeah.
Because at that sort of stage, it means that this thing has been, you know, growing over time, and consequently, it looks as though, as far as I'm concerned, we don't have a strategic approach to anything. You know, looking at things in the long term, and making sure that we have things in place that will avoid these sorts of things, because you cannot have buildings where first of all, if we go back to what the Romans used to say, you know, the prevention is better than cure. So it's no good, you know, allowing these things to fester until you do something about it.
Because there's a cost attached. As you say, the students are away, they're losing their time, they paid their money. But you know, I'll tell you something, Denise, it goes one step further back. I've said time and time again that within the government, you must have a business approach to what it goes on. Because if they had a business approach, they would know that buildings have to be maintained. And when I hear St. Lucians saying all the time, oh, well, it's not good to rent away, government is not wasting money when they rent a building. And I will tell you why. I was talking to, for instance, to Mr. Shariki recently, and I think he told me he rents to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs somewhere in his mall up north, and he's going to be renting his new building to the people. He said, Michael, whenever I'm called upon, if there's a leak or air, I'm there within 5 minutes. I have a team, because that is the nature of a business person. We have people maintaining those buildings. I have buildings 35, 40 years old. I don't have those problems with mold, because as soon as they call, I know very well if the tenant is unhappy, they will leave, and that will make me very unhappy.
And not only that, the tenant will talk to somebody else.
Correct, that's right.
And somebody else will talk to somebody else.
And you know, what I felt should be done over the years is that the millions of dollars that we spend in buildings, you know, government still has a responsibility to insure a building, to maintain a building, and they don't have the money, they have to borrow the money, so that's there are charges at stake. So if one looks at it carefully, you're actually better off renting and taking that money and put into the important sectors like the health sector.
Michael, let me give you one. When Ambassador Chu first came to St. Lucia, and he made his statement whether we needed such a big mental hospital, so to speak, he mentioned that to me afterwards, and some people took offense, as you know, and wanted him out of the country. But his idea to me was, Dennis, if you have something like that, have they taken into consideration the maintenance cost?
Correct.
He said, because it is astronomical. And he was right, because when they put in the millions of dollars they put in there, it looked perfect. But go there and look at it today. Exactly. And because the maintenance cost was so astronomical, they can't maintain it. I remember when it was opened, and Steve, you were there. Stevenson King told me, how are we going to maintain this?
You see, I'll tell you something. It's the same thing with the EU hospital.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why they can't open it.
Yes.
I think the Prime Minister is terrified, because Dr. King was on my show 2 weeks ago, and he said that it's going to cost an extra $100 million a year to run the St. Jude's and that hospital when they open. And if you are struggling now, okay, where is the money to come from?
Exactly.
But you know, the director of the EU said something which I've been saying all the time about that hospital. You need to bring people in who can help manage the hospital. For instance, you know, you have the tourism side of it there, where you can probably get doctors from away and get assistance and do it on a high level and have a portion of the hospital available.
Correct.
But imagine that, again, I have not verified it, but I understand that Victoria Hospital has more beds than the new hospital.
Yes, correct. That is a fact.
Now, you see, to me, what should be done, Victoria Hospital should be completely refurbished.
Yes.
You know, it's not a big hospital the way it's built. Air-condition the rooms, getting some new mattresses and beds. And what they should really do is to farm out the kitchen. Let somebody do the catering. You don't got to get involved in that. You know,
Yeah.
because you cannot have people just doing this thing there ad hoc.
But
It's terrible.
Michael, talking about finance, we now hear that the permanent secretary of finance, you know, Darius, Dr. Darius, is now going to leave.
Yeah.
And he was, don't forget, his background and things like that.
Actually, I read that on The Voice today. I was not aware of that.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
And consequently now, and he was a St. Lucian to that extent, so he understands.
Yeah.
And he was a very good permanent secretary of finance.
Yeah.
So who is going to now replace him?
Yeah.
It looks as though the boat is sinking, and that is my view again. And I hope St. Lucia understands that, because our best people should be here to help us,
especially
and then
now,
they're moving, especially
crucial,
now.
you know?
Very much so.
Well, I see that I've been given a signal. My time is up, and St. Lucia, this is open mic, saying we have now come to the end of the fourth segment of our program, and see you next time.